how they're going and all that. Not a whole lot to talk about this week. I've been talking a lot about the Magma JS framework and the whole thing that I want to do there. Been bringing it up, been mentioning it, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been something I've tried to focus on, at least to some point. Um, that's really good. Yeah, and then working on the date time headless conversion. Um, mm, Made progress. I knew this one would take a little while because it's the hardest component. It's the biggest component in the system. It has the most moving pieces. It has the most work that's been done on it. I mean, it's just been a lot of work in there. There's, gosh, there's just so many different pieces of it, and so it will encompass a lot of changes, a lot of work. So right now we're at the point where I'm about ready to get the communication between the main headless component and the secondary selector component, which will be sort of ironing out and flushing out the uh, the whole way of passing data between one component and another. Um, there's obviously going to be data that's contained in the main headless component that probably won't be sent out through render props, but will need to be given to the selector itself. And so that's kind of being ironed out how that's going to work. You know, should it be properties that are allowed to come in through the subcomponent in case it's ever used differently than what expected? Probably should, but how's that going to play out within the secondary component? What do we need to do? Do we need to what I'm thinking is we need to probably store that information somewhere in potentially in state. Uh, I don't like the idea of doing that because then it's a double. You got a double render situation. You know, the property comes in, it re-renders on the property. You change the state, it re-renders on the state change as well. So I'm not a huge fan of it for that reason because now you're almost guaranteeing a double render every time a property changes. But then the question is, if you pass it through the ability of passing through like a signal, what's that going to do? Well, the signal will almost have the same kind of effect. The signal will need to fire in a use signal effect that will cause a render of the component, and then when it puts itself in state, it causes that as well. So, you know, is there a way you're going to get around it? Maybe not. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. I don't know. It just I've always got these kind of things that go out, and you just kind of wonder. You kind of wonder how they end up um, how they should end up working, how they should end up doing that kind of stuff. And so, you know, you kind of hope to do the right thing, and that's really what it's about. Like I said, I always make suggestions to people that do it quick and iterate. But in my case, that advice works really well, except for in a case like mine where you're building, like I said, where you're building components where you're actually trying to be a part of someone else's application, and you don't want your components, you don't want your code to be the reason for the slowness in their code or to exacerbate the slowness in their code. So right, you don't want to be causing the problems. And so yes, I believe and I agree that getting things out quickly, working quickly, and producing something is much better than producing nothing. But in this case, it is a little bit about the forethought. So you got to think about that. You got to think about what you're doing when you do it. So basically, um, yeah, that's kind of where I aim with that, and where I land on that, at least in components. So, and I'm sharing this information because I want people to understand the thought process that goes into the components that we create, and how this isn't just something that I'm just throwing out there and is just yet another piece of tech that's going to just clog up your application and slow it down and you get frustrated with. The point of this is to make things that the decisions were deliberate. These decisions were made because they're the best decisions um, for the library, and not just for the library, but also for your application in the end. So that's definitely where I want to see this go and how I want to see this come out for the library itself. And so yeah, after this, I think I do know the next component I'm going to work on. We have people working on some of the simpler components. I think after this is done, there is one other component that's being worked on right now as a date, the headless conversion, and that's the radio button that's being converted right now. And I didn't realize it, but the radio button, even though it's a bit simpler, is still going to utilize this framework. So hopefully when I finish this, the radio button work will come along pretty quickly, and it'll be able to be utilized as an example for how to make it work correctly. So I've still got a number of components to flesh out, but I'm trying to get through the headless components first. Once I get through this one, though, I'm probably gonna start fleshing out a lot of the new components, and like I said, they'll be fleshed out in the way of do the headless component, do the visual side of the component. So that'll be the new way of everything's developed, and hopefully it'll lead to a more thought out process, because we have to think about how to do the code aspect and then how to do the visual aspect. So that's the goal, at least in what we're doing and what we're trying to do. Yeah, so hopefully you guys get a little bit of an insight. It's not going to be a very long this week, but like I said, a lot of the things you've probably seen on X, a lot of the things that have gone on this week, because there's been a lot of talk about Magma JS and trying to get it going. It seems GitHub takes their sweet time in doing just about anything. So yeah, I've been trying to get the what is it called, where you can donate, the donation piece set up. I submitted it over the last weekend, and here it is Thursday now, and I still haven't seen them approve it. I have no idea what's taking so long, and what they need to do to just say, okay, you're good. And I've set everything up. I've done through all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, which is another thing that probably has stalled a little bit in the development process, is trying to, get all of these things in place. And some weeks you get these huge gains and all this kind of stuff. And then some weeks those huge gains just kind of go, and you get mired in the paperwork of things. And that's just the way it is. Not every week can be huge gains. Not every week are huge losses in productivity, but you have your ups and you have your downs, and that's part of life. It's part of any business, even a business that's an open source business. It's just the way it is. So once the GitHub sponsor is approved, I'll definitely be posting it out there on X so everyone can see it. Yeah, and what I'd really appreciate, especially in the Magma JS area, is if someone would go, if anyone who likes what we're doing and who likes the idea of what we're doing, please go to it. The link is in my pinned post to the. I think I only put the link to the organization, but you can go to the organization, the Magma JS organization, and follow, and then go into the Magma JS library itself and star that thing if you would. That would really help us out, because in trying to get more sponsorship towards helping with hosting and things of that nature with the library, we could get onto, if we get at least 100 GitHub stars, we can get onto Open Collective. So you're not allowed on Open Collective unless your repo has at least 100 GitHub stars. So that's the goal on that, is to try to get at least 100 stars. And that would be, if you guys like what we do, but maybe you're like, I don't like it that much. At the very least, something you could really do to help out, something we'd really appreciate, is if you star the repos. Actually, star all of our repos. Go to the Magma JS and go to the Beehive Software Consulting organization, and go to the Beesoft components library specifically, if you would, and star that thing as well, because that's the main work that we're doing right now. Over everything else is the Beesoft components. And yeah, well, once again, if we can get 100 GitHub stars on that, we can also get it into Open Collective. So yeah, the more avenues to reach out there for people to know what we're doing and hear about what we're doing and things like that, the better chances we have of maybe being able to spend a little bit more time doing that, which is where I think we'd all like to do. I think we'd all like to have just a little bit of time to spend some more time focusing and all that. Because right now everyone's doing it in their free time, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. That's what open source is all about. Open source is about doing work, kind of promoting yourself by doing work to help others, which isn't a bad thing. It really is. It's a pretty good thing. So definitely, if you like what we do, give us a simple help out and jump over to one of the repos, star the repo, follow the organizations, both organizations, the Beesoft, the Beehive Software Consulting, or the Magma JS repo. Give us a follow, give us a star. We'd really appreciate it. So yeah, um, that's all. That's all I've got for what we've been saying, and that's it for the week. So hope to talk to you guys again. Talk to you on X. Talk to you wherever. Message us wherever. I always try to check things regularly so that I can